Admiral Kyung-min Park stood on the bridge of the battleship New Seoul, watching the massive alien ship surround Earth's solar system. The Vorthon Empire had sent over 200 vessels, each one bigger than anything humans had ever built. Their dark hulls gleamed with strange energy, and their weapons could destroy entire cities with a single shot. "Sir, they're sending another message," said Commander Soo-jin Choi, her face pale as she looked at the communication screen. The image of Emperor Thexval appeared. The alien leader looked like a giant lizard walking on 2 legs with 4 arms and glowing red eyes. His voice was cold and filled with disgust when he spoke. "Humans of Earth," Thexval said, "you have refused our generous offer to join the Galactic Dominion Empire. You choose to remain primitive and weak. This is your final warning. Submit now, or face the consequences." Admiral Park stepped forward. He was a veteran of many space battles, and his gray hair showed the stress of protecting humanity for 20 years. "Tell him our answer hasn't changed," he said firmly. Soo-jin pressed a button, and Park's voice went out to the alien fleet. "Emperor Thexval, humanity will never bow to tyrants. We choose freedom over slavery. Do your worst." The alien emperor's eyes flashed with anger. His 4 arms moved as he spoke, each gesture showing his rage. "You foolish creatures think you can defy the empire that rules 1,000 worlds? Very well. Since you refuse to be our slaves, you will be our prisoners instead." The transmission ended, and immediately the alien ships began moving into position. They formed a perfect sphere around the entire solar system, from Mercury to Pluto. Each ship took its place like a piece in some giant puzzle. Dr. Hana Kim rushed onto the bridge, carrying a tablet full of readings. She was the smartest scientist on Earth, and her black hair was messy from working all night. "Admiral, they're doing something to space itself," she said, breathing hard. "Some kind of energy field is forming around our whole system." "What kind of energy?" Park asked. "I've never seen anything like it," Hana replied, showing him the strange numbers on her screen. "It's like they're building a wall made of pure force. Nothing should be able to get through it." Captain Jae-wook Lee ran up to them. He was the best pilot in the human fleet, and his young face was full of worry. "Sir, I just tried to take my ship past Jupiter. The moment I hit that energy field, my engines died completely. It's like hitting a solid wall." Through the bridge windows, they could see the barrier forming. It looked like a soap bubble made of light, growing bigger and bigger until it covered the entire solar system. The stars outside became dim and fuzzy, as if they were looking through thick glass. Emperor Thexval's voice came through the speakers one last time. "Humans, you have chosen isolation. You will remain in your cage until you learn to obey. Your system is now forbidden to all galactic civilization. No one will trade with you, no one will help you, you are alone." The alien fleet began to leave, but some ships stayed behind to guard the barrier. They moved in slow circles around the energy field, making sure nothing could get in or out. Admiral Park watched the aliens leave and felt a mix of fear and determination. Earth was now completely cut off from the galaxy. No more alien technology to study. No more hope of learning from advanced civilizations. They were trapped like animals in a zoo. "What do we do now, sir?" asked Soo-jin. Park looked at his officers. Dr. Hana Kim stood with her scientific equipment, ready to solve any problem. Captain Jae-wook Lee waited for orders, his hand resting on his weapon. Commander Soo-jin Choi had her tablet ready to coordinate their forces. These were good people, and they represented the best of humanity. "We survive," Park said simply. "And we learn. The Vorthons think they've put us in a prison, but they've really given us time to grow stronger." "But how?" Jae-wook asked. "We're cut off from everything. No new resources, no new technology." "We have the most important resource of all," Park replied. "Human determination. Our ancestors survived ice ages, plagues, and wars. We've always found a way to adapt and overcome." Dr. Hana looked at her. Readings again. "Admiral, I'm detecting some strange properties in this barrier. It's not just a simple force field. There are quantum fluctuations, dimensional distortions. If we study it carefully, we might learn how it works." "Do it," Park ordered. "Start a secret research project. I want our best scientists working around the clock to understand alien technology. What about the ships they left behind to guard us? Sujin asked. We watch them, Park said. We learn their patrol patterns. We study their weapons and shields. Every piece of information could be useful someday. Over the following days, humanity began to adapt to their new situation. The barrier around their solar system was perfect. No radio signals could get through. No ships could enter or leave. Earth was completely isolated from the rest of the galaxy. But humans had always been good at making the best of bad situations. Scientists like Dr. Hana Kim began studying the barrier's energy patterns. Engineers started taking apart the few pieces of alien technology they had captured in earlier skirmishes. Military leaders like Admiral Park developed new strategies for defending their isolated system. Captain Jae-wook Lee led secret missions to study the alien guard ships. Using small, quiet vessels, human pilots got close enough to scan the enemy ships without being detected. They learned about alien hull materials, weapon systems, and engine designs. The people of Earth were told the truth about their situation. There was panic at first, but then came determination. Factories began working around the clock to build better ships and weapons. Universities focused all their research on military and space technology. Every human civilization worked together, like never before. Months passed, then years. The alien guards became lazy and predictable in their patrols. They thought humans were helpless primitives who would eventually give up and beg for mercy. They were wrong. Dr. Hana Kim made the first breakthrough when she figured out how to detect the quantum patterns in the alien barrier. Captain Jae-wook Lee developed new stealth technology that could hide ships from alien sensors. Admiral Park created training programs that turned ordinary people into space warriors. Commander Sujin Choi coordinated intelligence-gathering operations that mapped every alien ship and weapon in the area. Slowly, quietly, humanity began to understand their captors. The aliens had made their first mistake by underestimating human stubbornness. They thought isolation would break the human spirit. Instead, it forged humanity into something harder and more dangerous than anything the galaxy had ever seen. In their arrogance, the Vorthon Empire had given humanity exactly what they needed: time to prepare for war. 50 years had passed since the Vorthon Empire locked humanity inside their solar system. In the imperial capital city of Vorth Prime, Emperor Thexval sat on his crystal throne, looking at reports from across his vast empire. His red eyes scanned the daily updates with boredom. Status report on the Terran quarantine? He asked his aide, a smaller alien with blue skin and 6 arms. All normal, my emperor, the aide replied, checking his tablet. The barrier remains intact. No activity detected from the human system for decades. Our patrol ships report complete silence. Thexval nodded with satisfaction. Good. The primitives have learned their place. Mark the Sol system as irrelevant in our records. Focus our attention on more important matters. The Emperor had no idea how wrong he was. Deep inside Earth's moon, Director Woo Jin-yoon walked through the secret underground facility that humanity had built over 5 decades. The tunnel stretched for kilometers in every direction, filled with laboratories, factories, and training centers. Thousands of scientists and engineers worked here in complete secrecy. Status report, Woo Jin said to his assistant, a young woman named Bo-ra Shin, who had become one of Earth's most brilliant inventors. The quantum tunnel project is ready for final testing, Bo-ra replied, her eyes bright with excitement. We can now create small holes in space-time that bypass the alien barrier completely. Woo Jin smiled. It had taken 50 years, but humanity had finally figured out how to escape their prison without the aliens knowing. Show me, he said. They walked to a massive chamber where a strange machine hummed with energy. It looked like a giant ring made of metal and crystal, with electricity dancing around its edges. Dr. Yoonji Ko, a scientist who specialized in studying alien biology, stood next to the controls. We've tested it with unmanned probes, Yoonji explained. They pass through the barrier without triggering any alarms. The aliens can't detect our quantum tunnels at all. Bora activated the machine. and a small hole appeared in the air in front of them. Through the hole, they could see stars and empty space beyond the barrier. It was humanity's first window to the outside galaxy in 50 years. Perfect, Wu Jin said. Begin Phase 2. Send our scouts through to gather intelligence. General Taehyun Nam arrived at that moment, wearing the new type of armor that human engineers had developed. It was sleek and black, with built-in computers and weapon systems that were far more advanced than anything the aliens used. The first scout ships are ready, Taehyun reported. Captain Jin-Soo Park is leading the mission. His ship is equipped with our new stealth technology and quantum drives. While this conversation took place on the moon, similar facilities existed throughout the solar system. Mars had become a giant factory, producing ships and weapons using designs that no alien civilization had ever imagined. The asteroid belt was now a network of hidden bases and mining operations. Jupiter's moons housed the main research centers where scientists had spent decades studying every piece of alien technology they could find. They had learned to build better engines, stronger weapons, and more advanced computers than anything in the Vorthan Empire. Most importantly, humans had developed something unique, biotechnology, that combined living tissue with machines. Dr. Yunji-ko had led this research, creating hybrid systems that could adapt and evolve in real time. The aliens rely too much on their artificial intelligence systems, Yunji explained to a group of military officers. Their ships, weapons, even their communications all depend on computer networks. But our biotech can learn and change faster than any computer program. She showed them a demonstration. A small robot on the table suddenly began to change shape, growing new parts and abilities as it adapted to different challenges. This is just a simple example, she said. Our new ships can literally evolve during battle, becoming stronger and smarter as they fight. Captain Jin-Soo Park returned from his first scouting mission beyond the barrier with incredible news. His stealth ship had visited 3 different star systems without being detected once. The Empire is weaker than we thought, he reported to the Secret Council of Human Leaders. Most of their subject species hate them. They're only loyal because they're afraid, not because they believe in the Empire. What about their military? Asked Admiral Dongwoo Kang, who had replaced the retired Admiral Kyungmin Park as head of the human fleet. Their ships are powerful, but predictable, Jin-Soo replied. They all use the same basic designs, the same weapons, the same tactics. They haven't changed their technology in hundreds of years because they think they're already perfect. Director Wu Jin leaned forward. And their weakness? They're completely dependent on their central command network, Jin-Soo said with a grin. Every ship, every base, every weapon system is connected to their main AI computer. If we could hack into that network, we could turn their own weapons against them, Bora finished, her mind already working on the problem. Over the next few years, human scout ships began visiting systems throughout the Empire. They were like ghosts, invisible to alien sensors, gathering information and studying enemy weaknesses. The scouts discovered something amazing. The Empire was slowly falling apart from the inside. Many alien species were planning rebellions. Others were simply ignoring imperial orders and governing themselves. The Vorthan Empire was so large and spread out that the Emperor couldn't control everything anymore. More importantly, the humans learned that the Empire's technology had not improved in centuries. The Vorthans were so arrogant that they believed they had already achieved perfection. They saw no need to develop new weapons or better ships. Meanwhile, humanity had spent 50 years doing nothing but improving and innovating. Human ships were now faster, stronger, and smarter than anything in the Imperial fleet. Human weapons could adapt to any defense. Human computers could hack into any alien system. Bora Shin had developed engines that could move through dimensions the aliens didn't even know existed. Dr. Yunji-ko had created weapons that were part machine and part living creature, able to learn from every battle and become more effective. General Taehyun Nam had trained an army of soldiers who fought like no other species in the galaxy. They used tactics that the Empire had never seen, strategies that took advantage of humanity's unique way of thinking. But the most important discovery came from Dr. Hana Kim, now elderly but still brilliant. She had spent 50 years studying the barrier around Earth, and she had finally understood its deepest secrets. The barrier isn't just a prison, she explained to the human leadership. It's connected to the Empire's entire communication network. Every message, every order, every piece of data flows through quantum channels that pass right by our solar system. What does that mean? Asked Wu Jin. It means we've been listening to their private conversations for 50 years, Hana replied, with a smile. We know their military codes, their patrol schedules, their supply routes. We know which species are loyal and which ones are ready to rebel. We know everything. The room fell silent as everyone realized what this meant. Humanity hadn't just survived their imprisonment. They had turned it into the greatest intelligence-gathering operation in galactic history. Captain Mi Young Huang, leader of the Reconnaissance Division, stood up. Director, our ships are ready, our weapons are tested, our soldiers are trained. The question is, when do we strike? Wu Jin looked around the room at the faces of humanity's best and brightest. 50 years ago, they had been prisoners, locked away by an arrogant empire that thought they were primitives. Now they were something the galaxy had never seen, a civilization that had grown stronger in isolation, that had turned adversity into advantage. Soon, he said. Very soon. The Empire thinks we're dead or dying in here. It's time to show them how wrong they are. Outside the hidden lunar facility, Earth continued to look peaceful and quiet. The alien patrol ships moved in their predictable patterns, bored and careless after decades of seeing nothing. Their sensors detected no activity, no threats, no signs of advanced technology. They had no idea that humanity was about to emerge from their cage as the most dangerous predator the galaxy had ever known. Commander Zixtar of the Vorthan patrol ship Imperial Might was having the most boring day of his military career. For 15 years he had been assigned to watch the Terran barrier, and nothing interesting had ever happened. The humans inside, their prison system had been completely silent for decades. Sir, we're detecting some strange readings near the asteroid belt, reported his sensor officer, a young Vorthan named Kelvoth. Zixtar looked up from his entertainment screen with annoyance. What kind of readings? Quantum fluctuations, sir. Very faint. They started about an hour ago and then stopped completely, probably just solar radiation, Zixtar said, waving one of his four hands dismissively. The humans don't have quantum technology. Mark it in the log and forget about it. But Kelvoth was young and curious. When his commander wasn't looking, he decided to investigate the readings more carefully. What he found made his blood run cold. Sir, he called out urgently, these readings, they're not natural. Something created them artificially. Now Zixtar was interested. He walked over to the sensor station and looked at the data himself. The patterns were clearly artificial, but they didn't match any known technology in the Imperial database. Send a probe to investigate, he ordered, but maintain our distance. If the humans have developed some new trick, I want to know about it before we get too close. The probe flew toward the asteroid belt, its sensors scanning for any signs of activity. What it found there would change everything. Hidden among the asteroids was a human base that shouldn't have existed. Ships moved between the rocks like schools of fish, their designs unlike anything in the Imperial database. The probe tried to get closer, but suddenly its systems began to malfunction. Sir, we're losing contact with the probe, Kelvoth reported, panic in his voice. What do you mean losing contact? Zixtar demanded. All systems are failing. Wait, I'm getting one last transmission. Visual only. The screen showed the probe's final images before it died. A sleek black ship had appeared next to it, looking like nothing the Vorthans had ever seen. The ship had organic curves mixed with sharp angles, as if it were part machine and part living creature. Then the transmission ended. Send a full patrol. Squadron to investigate, Zixtar ordered. And alert the fleet commander. We may have a problem. Captain Mi Young Huang watched from the bridge of her stealth ship Silent Arrow as the Vorthan probe exploded harmlessly in space. Her ship's biomechanical systems had easily hacked into the probe's computer and destroyed it without leaving any evidence. Tech specialist Junho Ryu, how long do we have before they send more ships? She asked. Jun-ho, a young man with quick fingers and a brilliant mind, worked at his computer console. Based on their communication patterns, I'd say about 2 hours before a patrol squadron arrives, maybe 4 hours before their fleet commander gets involved. Perfect, Mi-young said. That gives us plenty of time to prepare our surprise. She activated her communication system, sending a coded message through quantum tunnels that the aliens couldn't detect. Fleet Admiral Dongwu Kang, this is Recon 1. The enemy has taken the bait, beginning Phase 1 of Operation Awakening. Far away, hidden behind one of Jupiter's moons, Admiral Kang received the message on his flagship Incheon Vengeance. He was a tall man with sharp eyes and gray hair, a veteran of countless simulated battles against alien technology. All ships prepare for combat, he announced. Today, humanity comes out of hiding. The human fleet that emerged from concealment was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. Instead of the large, bulky warships that most species used, human vessels were sleek and adaptive. Some ships seemed to shift and change shape as they moved, their biomechanical hulls adjusting for maximum efficiency. Captain Hyun-woo Jang commanded one of the most advanced ships in the fleet, a vessel called Soul's Revenge. His ship could phase in and out of normal space, becoming temporarily invisible and intangible. Admiral, we're detecting the Vorthan patrol squadron approaching the asteroid field, he reported. Excellent, Kang replied. All ships, remember, the plan. We want prisoners, not bodies. These aliens need to return to their empire with a message. The Vorthan patrol squadron consisted of 5 heavy cruisers, each one capable of destroying a small planet. Commander Zixtar led them personally, confident that his superior firepower could handle whatever primitive technology the humans had developed. Spread out and search the asteroid field, he ordered. If there are humans hiding here, we'll find them and destroy them. But as soon as the Vorthan ships entered the asteroid belt, everything went wrong. The first ship, Imperial Thunder, suddenly found its weapons system shutting down. Then its engines failed. Then its life support began to malfunction. Within minutes, the mighty warship was floating helplessly in space. What's happening? The ship's captain screamed into his communicator. Before anyone could answer, a human ship phased into reality right next to Imperial Thunder. The human vessel was smaller than the Vorthan ship, but it moved with deadly grace. Beams of energy shot out from the human ship, but instead of destroying the alien vessel, they simply disabled it completely. The same thing happened to the other 4 ships in the squadron. One by one, they found their systems failing as invisible. Human ships attacked from impossible angles. The aliens' weapons couldn't hit targets that could become intangible at will. Commander Zixtar watched in horror as his entire squadron was defeated without firing a single shot. His own ship was the last to fall, its systems slowly shutting down as human technology proved superior to everything the Empire had built. This is impossible, he whispered. Humans are primitives. They don't have this kind of technology. Captain, Mi-young Hwang's ship appeared directly in front of Zixtar's bridge, so close that the 2 crews could see each other through the windows. She opened a communication channel, and her voice came through clearly in perfect Vorthan language. Commander Zixtar, she said calmly, my name is Captain Mi-young Hwang of the Terran Republic Navy. You and your crews are now prisoners of war. Impossible, Zixtar repeated. You can't have learned our language. You've been cut off for 50 years, Mi-young smiled. We've been listening to your communications for 50 years. We know your language better than you do. We know your military codes, your patrol schedules, your fleet positions. We know everything about your empire. Boarding parties of human soldiers transported onto the disabled Vorthan ships. The aliens were shocked to see that humans wore armor that seemed alive, adapting and changing to meet different threats. Human weapons could stun or kill depending on the setting, and they never seemed to run out of power. Colonel So-young Park led the boarding team onto Zixtar's ship. She was a small woman, but her presence commanded respect from both her own soldiers and the alien prisoners. Secure all prisoners, she ordered. Treat them well. They're going to deliver a message for us. Tech specialist Jun-ho Ryu connected his equipment to the Vorthan ship's computer systems. Within minutes, he had downloaded every piece of data, in their memory banks. "Colonel, I've got their complete intelligence files," he reported. "Fleet positions, supply routes, communication codes, everything." "Good work," So Young replied. "Now upload our message to their systems and prepare them for release." She turned to Commander Zixtar, who sat in his command chair looking confused and defeated. "Commander, you're going to return to your empire with a message. Your ships will be repaired and your crews will be unharmed. But you need to tell your emperor something very important." "What message?" Zixtar asked weakly. "Tell Emperor Thexaval that humanity is no longer imprisoned," So Young said. "Tell him that we've spent 50 years becoming something his empire has never faced before. Tell him that his arrogance has created his worst nightmare." The human soldiers finished their work and returned to their ships. The Vorthon vessels found their systems coming back online, but many of their weapons and engines had been permanently disabled. They were functional enough to return home, but not enough to fight. As the aliens prepared to leave, Captain Myung Huang sent one final transmission to Commander Zixtar. "Your quarantine has expired," she said. "We're coming out." The human ships vanished as quickly as they had appeared, phasing back into dimensional space where the aliens couldn't follow. The defeated Vorthon squadron limped back toward their empire, carrying news that would shake the galaxy. Admiral Dongwu Kang watched them go from his hidden position. "All ships, return to base. Phase 1 is complete." "Sir?" asked Captain Hyunwoo Zhang. "What if they don't believe the message? What if the Emperor thinks this was just a lucky victory?" Kang smiled grimly. "Then we'll have to teach them a lesson they'll never forget. Alert all fleets. Operation Liberation begins in 72. Orster, in the depths of space." The human fleet disappeared into quantum tunnels, leaving no trace of their presence. But throughout the Empire, other human ships were already moving into position. The galaxy was about to learn that humanity's imprisonment had ended, and their war for freedom was just beginning. Emperor Thexaval stood in his war room, his forearms crossed in disbelief as he listened to Commander Zixtar's report. The throne room was filled with his most trusted generals and admirals, all of them struggling to understand what they had just heard. "Let me understand this correctly," the Emperor said, his red eyes glowing with anger. "A squadron of our finest warships was defeated by primitive humans? Ships that can become invisible? Weapons that we've never seen before?" Commander Zixtar knelt before the throne, his head bowed in shame. "Yes, my Emperor. They disabled our entire squadron without destroying a single ship. They said to tell you that their quarantine has expired." "Impossible!" roared General Vorthok, the Empire's supreme military commander. "Humans are barely evolved from animals. They were using primitive chemical rockets when we locked them away, 50 years ago." "Perhaps the commander is lying," suggested Admiral Kethvar. "Maybe he was defeated by rebels using stolen Imperial technology, and he's too embarrassed to admit it." But Zixtar shook his head. "I saw their ships with my own eyes. They spoke our language perfectly. They knew our military codes and their technology." He paused, remembering the sleek vessels that had appeared from nowhere. Their technology was beyond anything in our empire. Emperor Thexaval was old now, over 300 years old, and his pride had grown with every year of ruling the galaxy. The idea that primitive humans could challenge his empire was insulting beyond belief. "Bring me Admiral Korthax," he commanded. "If the humans want to play with real weapons, we'll show them what the 7th Imperial Battle Fleet can do." Admiral Korthax was the Empire's most feared military leader. He had conquered 12 star systems and destroyed countless rebel fleets. His flagship, Death of Worlds, was one of the most powerful vessels ever built. "My Emperor," Korthax said, as he entered the throne room, "I have studied Commander Zixtar's report. With your permission, I will take the 7th Fleet to the Terran system and end this nonsense once and for all." "How many ships?" the Emperor asked. 500 warships, including 20 dreadnoughts and my flagship. Enough firepower to crack a planet in half." Thexval smiled with satisfaction. "Do it. Show these humans what happens when primitives challenge the Empire, destroy their barrier, invade their system, and remind them why they should have accepted slavery. What about prisoners? Korthax asked. No prisoners, the Emperor replied coldly. Make an example of them. Let the galaxy see what happens to species that defy us. 3 days later, the 7th Imperial Battle Fleet arrived at the edge of the Sol system. It was the largest military force ever assembled, a armada of death that had never known defeat. Admiral Korthax stood on his bridge, looking at the energy barrier that surrounded the human system. Pathetic, he said to his officers. They're still hiding behind their cage like frightened animals. Begin the attack. Destroy the barrier and everything inside it. But as the Imperial fleet moved forward, Admiral Korthax had no idea that humanity was ready for them. Deep inside the Sol system, Supreme Commander Insu Moon received the alert on his command ship, Busan's Fury. He was a calm man in his 50s, with steady hands and sharp eyes that had spent decades planning for this exact moment. Admiral Yejin Seo, status report, he said into his communicator. All fleets are in position, came the reply from his naval strategist. The enemy has 500 ships, but they're using old formation patterns. They have no idea what they're walking into. Excellent. Captain Hyunwoo Jung, are your phase ships ready? Ready and waiting, sir, replied the captain of Sol's Revenge. My ships can strike from angles they've never imagined. Lieutenant Dayun Kim, how are our new fighters? Performing? Better than expected, sir, the young pilot reported from her cockpit. The biomechanical systems are responding perfectly. We're ready to show these aliens what human engineering can do. Insu looked at the tactical display showing the approaching enemy fleet. 500 ships sounded impressive, but humanity had spent 50 years preparing for this battle. Every ship, every weapon, every strategy had been designed specifically to defeat the Empire. All units, this is Supreme Commander Moon, he announced. Today we show the galaxy that humanity will not be caged. Today we prove that freedom is stronger than tyranny. Begin Operation Thunder. The battle started when the Imperial fleet reached the barrier around Earth's solar system. Admiral Korthax expected to easily blast through the energy field. But when his ships fired their weapons, something unexpected happened. The barrier absorbed their energy blasts and redirected them back at the attackers. Several Imperial ships found themselves hit by their own weapons, their shields collapsing under the redirected fire. What kind of trick is this? Korthax demanded. Before anyone could answer, human ships began appearing throughout the Imperial formation. They didn't come from one direction like normal fleets. Instead, they phased into reality from quantum tunnels, materializing inside the enemy formation where they could do the most damage. Captain Hyunwoo Jang's ship appeared directly behind, the Imperial flagship. Sol's Revenge opened fire with weapons that adapted to whatever they hit. When the enemy ship's shields tried to block the attack, the human weapons changed their frequency and punched right through. Lieutenant Da-Un Kim led a squadron of fighter craft that moved like living creatures. Her small ship dodged between the massive Imperial vessels, its biomechanical hull shifting and changing to avoid enemy fire. When she attacked, her weapons seemed to learn from each shot, becoming more accurate and more deadly. "Sir, our weapons aren't working," reported an Imperial officer. "Every time we hit them, their ships adapt and become resistant to that weapon type." Admiral Korthax watched in growing horror as his mighty fleet was torn apart by enemies that seemed to break every rule of warfare. Human ships that should have been destroyed kept fighting, their hulls repairing themselves in real time. Weapons that should have been powerful enough to crack moons barely scratched the enemy's adaptive armor. "This is impossible," he whispered, echoing the words of every Imperial officer who had faced humanity. "How can primitives have technology like this?" Admiral Yejin Seo coordinated the battle from her command ship, Gwangju's Pride. She watched as human tactics confused and overwhelmed the Imperial forces. The aliens fought like they always had, using the same strategies that had worked for centuries. But humanity fought differently. Human ships worked together like a single organism, sharing information instantly and adapting their tactics in real time. When the enemy tried to surround them, the human vessels would phase into different dimensions and attack from impossible angles. When the aliens concentrated their fire, human ships would merge their defensive fields and become nearly invulnerable. Most importantly, humanity had learned to turn the Empire's greatest strength against them. The aliens relied heavily on their computer systems and artificial intelligence networks. But human biotechnology could hack into those systems and take control. Tech specialist Jun-Ho Ryu, now aboard a specialized electronic warfare ship, smiled as he broke into the Imperial communication network. "Supreme Commander, I have access to their fleet computers. Should I turn their weapons against them?" "Do it," Insu replied. Suddenly, Imperial ships began firing on each other as their computer systems were hijacked by human technology. Confusion spread through the alien fleet as they realized their own ships had become weapons against them. Admiral Korthax tried desperately to regain control, but it was too late. Half his fleet was disabled by human electronic warfare. The other half was being systematically destroyed by weapons they couldn't understand or defend against. "Retreat," he finally ordered. "All ships retreat immediately." But even retreating proved difficult. Human ships pursued the fleeing aliens not to destroy them, but to gather more intelligence. Every Imperial vessel that escaped carried human spy programs in their computer systems. When the battle was over, the mighty 7th Imperial battle fleet had been reduced to less than 50 functional ships. Admiral Korthax's flagship limped away with its weapons destroyed and its crew demoralized. Supreme Commander Insu Moon watched them go from his command bridge. The battle had been a complete victory for humanity, achieved with 0 casualties. On the human side, "Sir," asked Admiral Yejin Seo, "should we pursue them? We could destroy the rest of their fleet easily." "No," Insu replied. "Let them return to their emperor. Let them spread the word about what happened here. Fear will be our greatest weapon now." Captain Hyunwoo Jang's voice came over the communication system. "Supreme Commander, my scouts are reporting massive panic throughout the Empire. News of our victory is spreading faster than their government can control it." "Good," Insu said. "Begin Phase 2 of Operation Liberation. It's time to free the enslaved worlds." As the human fleet regrouped, Insu looked out at the stars beyond their solar system. For 50 years, humanity had been prisoners in their own home. But their captivity had forged them into something the galaxy had never seen. A civilization that grew stronger through adversity. The Empire had made their greatest mistake when they underestimated human determination. Now they would learn that humanity's greatest strength wasn't their technology or their weapons. It was their refusal to stay defeated. The war for galactic freedom had begun, and humanity in 10. The news of Admiral Korthax's defeat spread across the galaxy like wildfire. In the Imperial capital on Vorth Prime, Emperor Thexval sat in his war room surrounded by terrified advisors and generals. The mighty 7th Fleet, which had never known defeat, had been destroyed by primitive humans. "How is this possible?" the Emperor demanded for the 100th time. "Show me the battle recordings again." The holographic display showed the final moments of the battle, Imperial ships firing on each other, human vessels appearing and disappearing like ghosts, weapons that adapted and evolved during combat. It looked like something from a nightmare, not a real battle. "My Emperor," said his chief advisor, a trembling Vorthon named Klixnoth, "we're receiving reports from across the Empire. 17 different species have declared independence. They're saying the humans have promised them freedom and advanced technology." Thexaval's red eyes blazed with fury. "Impossible. Those species have been our slaves for centuries. They wouldn't dare rebel without help." But even as he spoke, more bad news arrived. General Sung Ho Yu of the Terran Republic had appeared in the Altair system with a human liberation fleet. Within hours, the Altarians had thrown off their imperial chains and joined the human cause. President Ji-Hoon Lim of the Terran Republic sat in his office on Earth, watching reports come in from across the galaxy. The plan was working perfectly. 50 years of secret intelligence gathering had shown humanity exactly which species were ready to rebel and which ones would need more convincing. "Dr. Yujin Bei, status report on the Consciousness Transfer Project," he said to the brilliant scientist standing beside his desk. Dr. Yujin was a small woman with sharp eyes and gray hair, but her mind contained some of the most dangerous secrets in the galaxy. Mr. President, we've successfully infiltrated the Imperial Command Network. We can now monitor their communications in real time and, if necessary, take control of their most important systems. Excellent. And General Seung-ho's liberation campaign? Proceeding ahead of schedule, Yujin replied. The Zephyrians joined us yesterday. The Crystalline Collective declared independence this morning. Every species we free becomes a new ally with their own ships and resources. Ji-hoon nodded with satisfaction. This was what humanity had planned for decades, not just to defeat the Empire in battle, but to turn their own subjects against them. The Vorthon Empire was collapsing from within, and human agents were there. To guide the process, Admiral Sung-mi-oh commanded the Liberation Fleet that was currently approaching the core worlds of the Empire. Her ships moved through space like a school of deadly fish, each vessel adapting its camouflage to match the local environment. The aliens couldn't see them coming until it was too late. Admiral, reported her communication officer, we're receiving a transmission from the hegemony of Krell. They're requesting immediate assistance to overthrow their imperial governors. Grant it, Sung-mi replied. Send the 3rd Liberation Squadron to help them. Make sure they understand that freedom comes with responsibilities. The human approach to liberation was different from simple conquest. When they freed a world from imperial control, they immediately provided advanced technology, medical aid, and education. Species that had been enslaved for centuries suddenly found themselves with capabilities they had never dreamed of. But the most devastating weapon in humanity's arsenal wasn't their ships or their technology. It was their understanding of the Empire's greatest weakness. Dr. Yujin Bei had spent decades studying captured Imperial computer systems. She had discovered that the entire Empire was controlled by a central artificial intelligence network called the Imperial Mind. Every important decision, every military order, every administrative function flowed through this vast computer system. The Vorthons thought this made them more efficient. In reality, it made them vulnerable to an enemy who understood their technology better than they did. Mr. President, Yujin said, activating a secure communication channel, I'm ready to begin the final phase. With your permission, I'll start uploading the liberation virus into the Imperial Mind. Do it, Ji-hoon replied. On Vorth Prime, Emperor. Thexval was in the middle of a strategy meeting when every computer screen in the palace suddenly displayed the same message. A human face speaking in perfect Vorthon. People of the Galactic Dominion Empire, said the image of President Ji-hoon Lim. My name is Ji-hoon Lim, President of the Terran Republic. For 3,000 years, your empire has enslaved countless species across the galaxy. Today, that ends. Turn it off! Thexval screamed at his technicians. We can't, my emperor, they replied in panic. The signal is coming from inside our own network. It's everywhere. The message continued. To the subject species of the Empire, humanity offers you freedom, technology, and the chance to govern yourselves. We have proven that the Empire can be defeated. Join us, and together we will build a galaxy based on cooperation, not domination. To the Vorthon military, your emperor has led you into an unwinnable war against an enemy you don't understand. Surrender now, and you will be treated with honor. Continue to fight, and you will face the same fate as Admiral Korthax's fleet. Emperor Thexval watched in horror as his empire began to crumble in real time. Across the galaxy, species that had been loyal for centuries suddenly declared independence. Imperial governors found their own security forces turning against them. Military commanders discovered that their ships' computers no longer obeyed their orders. The liberation virus that Dr. Yujin had created was more than just a computer program. It was a living, evolving piece of code that learned and adapted as it spread through the Imperial network. It didn't just disable systems, it converted them to serve the cause of freedom. General Seung-ho Yu stood on the bridge of his flagship, Daigu's liberation as his fleet approached the Vorthon homeworld. The journey that should have taken months had been completed in weeks, thanks to the quantum tunnel technology that humanity had perfected. General, reported his sensor officer. We're detecting massive civilian evacuations from the planet's surface. It looks like the Imperial government is collapsing. Good, Sung-Ho replied. Open a communication channel to the planetary government. The face of Governor Hixthar appeared on the screen. The Vorthan official looked tired and defeated, his forearms hanging limply at his sides. Governor, Sung-Ho said calmly, I am General Sung-Ho Yu of the Terran Republic Liberation Forces. You have 1 hour to surrender unconditionally. Any resistance will be met with overwhelming force. You cannot do this, Hixthar replied weakly. This is a core world of the Empire. We have planetary defense systems that could destroy your entire fleet. Sung-Ho smiled. Governor, check your defense systems. Hixthar turned to his control panels, and his face went pale. Every weapon system on the planet was offline. His own computers were displaying messages of freedom and liberation. The defense network that had protected the homeworld for centuries was now under human control. How is this possible? He whispered. Governor, your empire made the mistake of connecting everything to one central network, Sung-Ho explained. We've spent 50 years learning how that network operates, now we control it. As if to prove his point, the planetary defense system suddenly came online and fired into space, destroying empty asteroids with perfect precision. Those weapons could have targeted your cities, Sung-Ho said. Instead, they demonstrated our control. Surrender now and your people will be unharmed. Governor Hixthar had no choice. With tears in his eyes, he formally surrendered the planet to human forces. Similar scenes were playing out across the galaxy. Core worlds that had never known defeat were falling to human liberation forces without a single shot being fired. The Empire's own technology had become its greatest enemy. Emperor Thexaval made one final desperate attempt to save his crumbling empire. In the deepest vault beneath his palace, he activated the ultimate weapon, a device capable of destroying entire star systems. If I cannot rule the galaxy, he declared to his remaining loyal guards, then no one will. I'll start by destroying the human homeworld. But when he tried to target Earth, he discovered that the weapon's computer systems had also been compromised. Instead of firing at Earth, the massive weapon turned toward empty space and discharged harmlessly into the void. Dr. Yu Jinbei's voice came through the palace speakers. Emperor Thexaval, your ultimate weapon is now under our control. Surrender, and you will face justice for your crimes against countless species. Resist, and you will be removed from power by force. The Emperor looked around at his empty throne room. His generals had fled, his admirals had surrendered, his governors were defecting to the human cause. 3,000 years of Vorthon rule were ending not with glorious battle, but with the quiet clicking of computer keys. Admiral Sungmyo's fleet entered orbit around Vorth Prime without encountering any resistance. The once mighty Imperial capital was defenseless, its weapons controlled by human technology, its leaders hiding in bunkers. This is Admiral Sungmyo of the Terran Republic Navy, she announced. Emperor Thexaval, you are hereby under arrest for crimes against galactic civilization. Surrender immediately or we will come and get you. In his throne row,